Mikey Sherrill gets tough. Can Jack Ciattarelli take a punch? Hey, everybody, it's Reporters Roundtable. I'm David Cruz. Final stretch of the race for governor, and our panel of navigators includes Joanna Gagis, senior correspondent for NJ Spotlight News, Matt Friedman, reporter for Politico and author of its New Jersey Playbook, and Charles Stile, political columnist for The Record, USA Today Network. Panel, welcome. Good to see you all. The final debate made all the news in the race this week. I'm going to play the debate highlight in a minute, and we can talk about it. But, Matt, the medical publisher 10,000 deaths flap aside for the moment, who had the better performance?
I think that flap kind of defined. I don't know how to take that away from the debate, what was otherwise pretty standard.
Yep.
Sherrill is a bit more animated, and she gave some actually clear answers that she hadn't given before. I think, give her credit for actually taking a stance on whether people should pump their own gas, which for every reason she couldn't do anything, put out a statement that still wasn't clear. And I think that's been a big frustration with her campaign from a lot of people throughout this, is just take a stance, have a clear statement on something. The medical publishing thing, though, it seemed to come out of they've used this attack a little bit. It's not new. It was around 4 years ago. And there's some legitimate stuff there, but I'm afraid by doing that, she may have she brought so much attention to this, and I don't know if that's going to move any voters, but Ciattarelli gave Trump an A in that, and I think it stepped on her own message, since that's what she's been trying to do this whole campaign.
All right, I'm going to pick up on that in a second. Joanna, Sherrill helped or hurt herself with her Top Gun toughness?
I don't know that either one at this point is really doing anything different. I think that neither one made a misstep, and I think that that's what they both hope to walk away with. And I think you're right. That was a punch, and I think it landed. You could see in an otherwise very, very poised Ciattarelli throughout this campaign. I think that was the first moment I've seen him rattled or frustrated or unprepared with an answer. He was angry. You could see it. And so I think in that sense, she did herself a favor landing that punch. The question here is how many people are still undecided in this race? It can't be a very big margin at this point. If anyone cares at all they're following, then they probably know which side they're going for. I think the effort here to get something that could go viral could be working for Sherrill. I'm already seeing it on social media, already seeing that moment play out. So, she did probably what I think she intended and hoped to do coming out of that debate.
Chaz, I've seen Ciattarelli sharper in past debates. Hits and misses for you?
Well, I think one interesting thing that got obscured in this whole debate over the opioids is the fact that Jack Ciattarelli gave Donald Trump an A rating for New Jersey. Now, he hasn't really walked away from Trump. That's pretty consistent. But I think at this late stage, I think that could have been something that they could have exploited. But this became overlooked a little bit. I also think there were parts of. I agree with what Matt said. I mean, there might be she may have stepped on a message. There's come a debate over whether she went too far, or was it inflammatory or within the boundaries of political combat. But I think there are Democrats out there that have been waiting to see, pearl-clutching Democrats who have been waiting to see her throw a punch and go for the jugular. And, there's also a broader part of the Democratic base that has been tired of Democrats just playing by the old rules, that Donald Trump has won the White House twice. He owns the courts and Congress by playing this asymmetrical gutter politics. So a lot of Democrats want somebody to come out and take a swing.
I was surprised. She said that he voted for parental rights for rapists, and he responded by saying she lied about me supporting a sales tax. That wasn't the Jack Ciattarelli that a lot of people expected, I thought. All right, let's go to the thing about the Ciattarelli medical business and the opioid crisis and Mikey Sherrill's haymaker. Let's take a little look.
You know, my opponent likes to talk a lot about being a businessman, but I think what New Jersey doesn't know is much about his business, how he made his millions by working with some of the worst offenders and saying that opioids were safe, putting out propaganda, publishing their propaganda while tens of thousands of New Jerseyans died. And as if that wasn't enough, then he was paid to develop an app so that people who were addicted could more easily get access to opioids. And so as he made millions, as these opioid companies made billions, tens of thousands of New Jerseyans died.
Mr. Chitterelli.
First of all, shame on you. Second of all,
Shame on you, sir.
shame on you. During the Biden administration, she had no problem whatsoever with tens of thousands of people crashing our border each and every day, not knowing what impact they had in our communities with regard to fentanyl crisis, fentanyl abuse, fentanyl distribution, vaccination rates, and the like. Talk to your local police, talk to your county prosecutors in New Jersey. Since the border's been secured, fentanyl crisis has decreased significantly. She supported those open border policies. But with regard to everything she just said about my professional career, which provided my family, it's a lie. I'm proud of my career.
Matt, lots of clutching of pearls, as Charlie said, over this. Did she go too far, you think?
In the clip we just saw, no. What she said was not. But after that, when she said, you killed these people, that's where it kind of crossed the line. I don't think it needed to. I think maybe she got caught up in the heat of the moment because it is pretty devastating. Like, what she's saying has a foundation of truth to it. If you look at what these publications said, they did downplay the risks of opioid addiction. And if you want to talk about the crisis in this country, what Chattarelli said is true. There's a lot of fentanyl that comes over the border. But where did this crisis came from? It came, I mean, there's no simple answer to anything, so I don't want to oversimplify, but it came from these pain medications and the pushing of these pain medications on people starting in the 90s while downplaying the susceptibility to addiction, which is exactly what some of these materials that Chattarelli's company produced said. So that is an accurate thing. And I feel like she kind of stepped on the message by taking it a little too far and making this about mudslinging instead of kind of focusing in on that message that frankly is a legitimate hit.
Could have left it there and let people think about it. Joanna, what did you think when you saw that during this otherwise pretty calm debate? Fair or foul?
It was the first time that I saw the two of them go at each other. She kind of took the opportunity as he started making comments to jump in. And that's where, as Matt said, maybe she went too far, but she also opened up this opportunity where, as she was accusing him of being responsible for these deaths of tens of thousands of New Jerseyans, he came back with, well, at least I got to walk in my graduation, which, you know, she kind of had him on his heels. That wasn't a strong response to these very strong allegations that she was saying. So I think she got him flustered in that moment. Did she go too far? I don't know if her team intended for her to say it in the way that she did.
Yeah.
I think she succeeded in getting him, you know, on his heels in a position where he wasn't ready to respond, I think, in a meaningful way.
Yeah, Charlie, that's as hard as I've seen Mikey Sherrill go in this race. Yeah. Will it all have been worth it?
I don't know. I think we'll see soon enough. I have to say, though, as Matt mentioned, you know, she was at an acceptable level of discourse first, and then she ratcheted it up. And I think, personally, I think in that exchange, when he brought up the, you didn't walk in the graduation, and threw that piece of kindling into the fire, I think she just got mad and decided to turn it up from number 10 on the dial to 11. Yeah. And I think really got personal. I think this one takeaway is how really personal this race has become, and it's moving away from policy. Yeah,
and when she kind of mockingly said to him, yeah, great, you graduated to kill 10,000 people. That was a little rough. Matt, Nick Sackel, North Bergen mayor and state senator, coming out for Chitterelli reminds me of Union City Mayor and State Senator Brian Stack coming out for Christie. Will it be that big a deal?
You know what? I mean, it will move some votes probably. He is not Brian Stack in terms of that. And I don't, First of all, this is played for the narrative that Democrats are jumping over to Chattarelli, and there's been a few, but like this is about Hudson County politics.
Yeah.
And I have a secret. Hudson County politics, it's often transactional.
Hey, watch what you say on this show, buddy.
But there's various reasons this isn't about really red and blue. It's about parochial crazy things. Also, I want to say
Stack versus Sacco.
Yeah, it's Stack versus Sacco. It also demonstrates that in New Jersey politics, generally, the big things, this shows how little anything is ever going to change, no matter whether it's Chattarelli in office or Sherrill in office, because Nick Sacco is one of the biggest pension people. He has a six-figure pension right now. At one point, he had 3 public jobs. He was making 300-something thousand a year. Now, I think he's making a little less than that, but he's got this huge 6-figure pension from his job as like an assistant superintendent. It's like, and no one's like, oh, I don't want this guy's support. It's like, well, he can do something for me. And you know what? Like, people, they don't tend to do it out of pure principle. There tend to be things attached. It's also funny, in a lot of the Democrats who have come over and endorsed Chattarelli just lost a Democratic primary where they were talking trash about Republicans and Trump, and then they lose badly, and then they go so. It will make the votes, but it also, as David Wildstein pointed out, it could motivate Brian Stack, who is a much more effective organizer, to work even harder. So there is that risk. So I don't want to overstate it, but it's significant.
North Hudson Republicans, meanwhile, Charlie, are energized. Is it real or imagined that Hudson is going to go for Chattarelli in some meaningful way?
I kind of doubt that. I think the whole going back to Christy Whitman, the Republican play in Hudson County has always been, can we cut some of the margin down? Remember,
I was referring to Chris Christie.
Oh no, yeah. Well, I think, but I don't.
He had Stack in his corner last time.
He did. I think that Stack's enthusiasm came a little more after when Christie was in charge of the budget and carving up the pork.
Right.
I remember I was at that event where he called him the greatest governor ever, but that was, I think that was long after.
That was second term, I think.
Yeah, it was Stack worrying about his parochial needs in Union City, and Chris Christie holding the keys to the coffers.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Joanna, you were at a rally, was it, with the Latino Coalition? Was there genuine enthusiasm or just kind of going through the motions?
There was genuine enthusiasm. This was an event by Unidos US, their super PAC, trying to turn out Latinos across the state. I think beyond the enthusiasm is we're going to see some real hard dollars. And so there's going to be national funding from Latino organizations coming into the state. They said 6, maybe 7 figures to really put out a get out the vote effort, because they say they need a ground game, and they believe Latinos are going to determine this election. Now, remember, there's a divide between the Latino community, right? We see in District 9 this shift towards Trump in the last election. And so they're aware of that. They say that they failed in getting Democratic Latinos out in the last election. They don't want to see that happen again. And everyone's counting on this coming down to a really close margin. So they believe they will be the difference maker at the end of this election.
Yeah. Matt, taking a little turn here, can you tell us what in the name of all that is Jersey is happening down south? Republican versus Republican, and now Norcross versus Palestina. What's happening down there?
Yeah, well, you see, George Norcross just always gets his tentacles in everything, right? And he's got quite a good working relationship with Senator Mike Testa, who represents the southernmost district in the state. But that has caused a lot of friction with Vince Palestina, the senator in the 2nd district. And Testa essentially allowed one of Norcross's political associates to get through to circumvent senatorial courtesy, to circumvent Vince Palestina holding him up by him moving to the quote unquote moving to Testa's district, where he allowed the nomination to proceed, which really caused a lot of problems. And so anyway, Wednesday we saw this incredible radio debate between Norcross and Palestina. There was no camera on them that I know of. I'm sure it would have been just lots of foam at each of their mouths, but Norcross especially just throwing out really accusations that a few months ago, Jack Ciattarelli announced he's suing Mikey Sherrill. And Norcross was basically throwing out unproven allegations against Palestine. Instead of providing evidence for it, he was saying, I'm saying right now that you were blackout drunk and did something at Atlantic City Country Club that produced a female victim and got you kicked out. And if I'm wrong, sue me. I mean, that's actually more or less what he said. He actually said it in more hostile terms. So it was
in a Norcrossian way.
Yes, exactly. And I don't know, Norcross, if you've ever dealt with him, you might notice he does have a lot of lawyers who work for him who might contact you if you say anything. He's the kind of guy who does sometimes threaten lawsuits. So it's interesting, yeah.
Meanwhile, Steve Fulop, unsuccessful gubernatorial candidate, sort of successful mayor, will leave at the end of his term to join the Partnership for New York City. Perfect political maneuver or waving the white flag politically? Charlie, what do you think?
I think he put an enormous effort and rolled the dice in this primary, and so wave the white flag. I think he came to the realization that this party was never really going to coalesce around him coming in third. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't have the numbers in front of me, but I think that's right. And
he did come in third.
He came in third, and I just feel like he made a lot of favorable impression among some of the progressives, but I think he made too many enemies within the establishment to make his future in the party viable, at least in the short term. Right. So I think this is the kind of thing that sort of suits his skill set and experience.
Joanna, have we seen the last of Steve Fulop, candidate for fill in the blank?
I don't think so. I think he's probably regrouping, going to go make some money, and he'll find a way to try to get himself back into political life. I find it interesting, though, that he has to move to New York for this job. So I don't know how that positions him for a future in New Jersey politics. Maybe he's angling now for a New York position. We'll see. But I don't think this is the last of it. I think he's always had higher aspirations. I think this is just a timeout for him.
Matt, I see you smiling. Steve Fulop for president.
I just think it's fun. I think he burned all the bridges in New Jersey, and the only things left were the Hudson River crossings. So he's got to go.
So listen, we are marking Indigenous Peoples Day, and so it reminds me of immigration and where these candidates are on that issue. Joanna, let's stay here with you. You were at this event on earlier this week. Is there a sense that immigration is driving voters, at least Latino voters?
Yes, within the Latino community, yes. Interestingly, I asked one of the folks there if they were hearing anything from their community, from the Latino community, maybe folks who went for Trump in the last election who are now saying, hey, what we're seeing happen with ICE enforcement goes beyond what we thought we were supporting. And the answer was in the affirmative. Yes, absolutely. The community is scared because they say that they're seeing people every day having these ICE interactions who are here legally, who have legal status, and are being treated just the same way as folks who don't, or folks who may have committed a crime. So, and also I'm hearing, the two candidates kind of laying out their positions. Both have been pretty vague, I would say, until this last debate. We heard a little more specificity. Jack saying he wants this path to recognition. What does that look like? He wants individuals to have some type of license or to be recognized. Mikey Sherrill saying, hey, that's not a thing. There's no legal status there. She, although has not said whether or not she would maintain the Immigrant Trust Directive here in New Jersey. But I do think that I think that ICE enforcement is something that will be a tool for them to help turn out more voters, especially in that Latino community, which we talked about is going to be really important.
Charlie, how important are they going to be, Latinos that is, for Mikey Sherrill?
I think it's a significant block. And Joanna mentioned Jack Ciattarelli's position, I thought was one of the most puzzling one. This recognition, status of recognition,
Yeah.
which was, to me, a real classic threading of the needle. He didn't want to sound like he supported a path to citizenship because
Yeah.
that would not go over well with MAGA. So he comes
Right.
up with this new concoction. Meanwhile, she threads the needle by tonally sounding like she's on the side of immigration, of the Latino community that's concerned about immigration, but she never really commits to anything.
Right.
So she's kind of left herself this maximum flexibility if elected. But
All right,
again,
I'm
it
gonna-
goes to feed the
I'm gonna
narrative like
take-
she doesn't take a position.
I'm going to take your thread the needle metaphor and say that sews up roundtable for today. Joanna, Matt, Charlie, good to see you all. Thank you as always. We are on Blue Sky now. Follow us there at David Cruz NJ and scan the QR code on your screen to get more roundtable. I'm David Cruz. For all the crew here at Gateway Center in downtown Newark, thanks for watching.